Okay, well, my number 3 is Resident Evil 6. I'm sure it's on your level somewhere.
Yeah, it's my number 2. It's on my level.
It's on my level. What do you reckon?
Well, I haven't played as much of it as I would like, but it's so big that I actually have played quite a lot of it, if that makes sense. So, I've played only a small section of Leon's, but it's actually more hours than I'd spend on some entire games, I guess. I really like it. I really didn't like the demo. This section that I've played, good 3 hours or so, incorporated the bit from the demo, and that bit was the worst bit of all of it. The rest of it I absolutely loved. I thought it was really, really atmospheric, moved, had a good sense of pace. Some of it was kind of quiet and reasonably scary. I played it in the dark on my own with the sound up high, and it got me a few times.
Yeah.
And then it just ramps the pace up later on in that first chapter, and it's just absolute chaos. I read a great little, I think it was a forum post telling you how to play the game, because it does a terrible job of explaining itself. There are all these new moves in there that have never been in a Resi before. Like the diving backwards, the crouch, the roll, all this stuff that you need to play it properly. And I get the feeling a lot of people who have scored the game very poorly have played it as if it was 4, but with standard third-person controls that it has, and not used any of that stuff, and then complained when they can't play it properly or it's super frustrating or something. I've got a lot more to play, so I might change my mind, but I get the feeling that there's a bit of a reviewer's malaise going on. But yeah, there were still a couple of bits which annoyed me in that time, but I was really impressed with it. Maybe it's because I went in with lower expectations, because I played it after the reviews dropped, but I'm just really excited to go back to it, to be honest. I don't get the hate. I especially can't, we talked about this before between us, but I cannot understand how anybody could score it lower than Operation Raccoon City, which is a fucking shit game.
Yeah.
There was better stuff in the first... Well, actually, the first 10 minutes of Resident Evil 6 are terrible because they're just QTEs. But, after that, when the game starts properly, there's better stuff in the first 20 minutes of that than all of Operation Raccoon City, easily. Yeah. Easily. So, what do you think? You've played a lot more of it than me.
I really like it. I do like it. There's a lot of things wrong with it, and, I think you have to take them on the chin. But... yeah, I'm always sceptical when I see reviews that are really poisonous and really, as angry as some of the Resident Evil 6 reviews were. And whenever a game's frustrating, I always have to sit back and say, why is this frustrating? And Resident Evil 6, at one point, me and my girlfriend have been going through it again on co-op. You've only done Leon?
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's poor, but I haven't had time. But that's the game I'm going back to. That's the reason that I'm not going back to Borderlands at the moment. I'll be going back to Resi.
We're doing the Jake campaign at the moment, and there's a set piece that got me so angry. I threw the pad down. I was like, who thought this was a good idea? This is just bad design. It wasn't bad design. It was actually, thinking about it, it was actually a really nice idea. There's this bit where you're in a snowstorm and you have to ascend basically a glacier. And on your way to the top of it, you get into 3 or 4 gunfights, but you have to be really pensive because you can't see very well, and you have to... Because basically, if you get hit, you fall down and you slide all the way back to the beginning.
Oh, God, that sounds annoying.
It's annoying, but it's not a bad... I don't think that's a bad idea as a gameplay device, because by the end of it, we were being really careful, making sure one of us was on one side, making sure we could see everything. But yeah, like I said, I was so frustrated until you really just that you really get your head around it. There are scenarios in that game where you're convinced that the game's at fault when it isn't. You are playing it like you think it's. Because I started playing it like it was 4 or 5, and there are things that annoy you about it. I don't know what these moves are. This guy was talking about. Are they?
I retweeted it. I'll send you the link afterwards. There's 12 moves you need to know to play Resident Evil 6, and I was reading that. It's like, damn, all this is in here. It's stuff like you can slide and duck under things like in Vanquish. It's like there's so much in there that you would just never know because there's no tutorial for it.
Wow,
it's mad. But it completely changes the dynamic of how you play. I learned a few of the moves on my own as I was playing it, and starting to get my head around it and realising it wasn't the same as 4 and 5, especially 5, and starting to enjoy it a lot more. But even stuff like the first time you encountered dogs, they are the most annoying enemies in the world because they keep knocking you over and it drives you insane. But then I realised all I've got to do is wait for them to jump, hit the right trigger, I think it is, which is the parry move, and then you just smash them up straight away. So it's like, no, this is how you take on this enemy. You can't just do what you want. You know, we've designed this in this way, and this is the way you've got to do it. You can't just shoot at them and then when they knock you down, go, oh, the game's wrong, because there is the option there to do it properly. So I do get the feeling that I haven't played enough, so I mustn't be too judgmental on people's reviews, and I'm talking about the super negative ones here. But I just get the feeling that people, if A, had to rush it for review, and it's a massive, massive game, B, are trying to play it exactly as they want and aren't taking the time to learn the new systems, and 3, are reviewing it to their own sense of expectation and not what it is, because you can't score that game lower than Operation Raccoon City. You just can't. Yeah. You cannot.
Yeah, that's that really irked me as well. But the bit you're talking about, the dogs, that wound me the fuck up as well. I didn't realise that there was any way to do it, but there have been other scenarios where, like the bit where you fall down that glacier, you do have to change how you play in order to beat it.
Yeah, honestly, I died about 3 or 4 times on those dogs, and I was like, oh, this is where the game gets shit. And then I remembered that there was this parry move, and I thought, well, I'll just wait for him, see if I can parry them. I smashed them up without taking a hit in about 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And then just walked off with them dead. And I was like, oh, okay. It's just challenging me to not just, point and shoot at everything straight away. And it fucking looks amazing.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played it on my big TV, which I don't play many games on the big TV. And the bit where you're going down the sewer tunnel, it's like really misty, and you can see this stuff coming out of the fog at the background of the zombies. It's like, that is so atmospheric. Yeah. And people have said it's not scary, but it scared me.
Yeah,
it made me jump and creep me out a couple of times.
Yeah, I've had a couple of moments as well. Although, funnily enough, the Chris Redfield campaign, which is the one that's most like Resident Evil 5, I think is the best one. It's a shooter more than anything else, but I think that's on balance, that's the best of the 3.
That's really interesting, because everybody says Leon's is the best, but I'm going in with an open mind into all of it. I like it, man.
Yeah, I'm the same as that. It's something that irks me about people who are really, really vindictively trying to say that it's a shit game. It really isn't. You just need a bit of patience, and But then again, I said the same thing about Never Dead. There's systems in that nobody wanted. Everyone just thought it was a hack and slash game, and it wasn't. There's all these other things there that if you take advantage of, you have a blast with it.
It can be the reviewer's curse in some ways, that because you have such a short amount of time to blast through something. I'm not reviewing Resident Evil, so I can take as long as I want. Yeah. And say you've got another 2 things on your plate. These aren't excuses; they're just reasons why these things sometimes happen. And in actual fact, when they do happen, the reviewer should look at themselves and think, I've not done a good enough job there, and I'm guilty of that. I'm sure every reviewer is at some point in their career. But yeah, you blast through it, you think it is what it is, and when it doesn't work to how you want it to work, you get annoyed with the game, blame the designers, where in actual fact a guy who bought that game, be it Never Dead, be it Resident Evil, be it anything, would take the time to learn the systems, because they made a proper investment, and they're not trying to
I always find that I always I always do go out of my way as much as I can to try and imagine that I've just shelled out 40 notes for something. But even if I hadn't, Resident Evil 6 is not a bad game by any stretch, and the amount of content is absurd. If this, each campaign there's 4. You wouldn't have unlocked Ada,
no.
But yeah, you're looking at just shy of 40 hours content all in.
And the mercenaries thing, and and the agent hunt mode. Have you tried that? The kind of Left 4 Dead / Dark Souls type thing.
No.
There's a thing where you can unlock where you can then invade someone else's game as a zombie and hunt them down as they're playing.
Someone else's single player game.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
What, in someone else's campaign?
Yeah, like in Dark Souls. In Dark Souls you can dive into other people's game and fuck them up. What? And Left 4 Dead's multiplayer, you can play as the zombies, can't you? Agent hunt mode. Google agent hunt mode. I don't 100% know all the facts, but that's the basis of it. That's the word I'm searching for.
I'm going to try that as soon as we finish recording this podcast. But Resident Evil 6, if you've ever liked a Resident Evil game and you're open-minded and patient, I think you're going to get one fuckload more enjoyment out of it than some people are suggesting you will, for sure.
Well, you might fucking hate it. Who knows?
You might fucking hate it, but it's the amount of work that's gone into it. It's a big. I feel that it's been kind of sidelined because too many people have taken those reviews on the chin, and it's a big. It's the biggest game Capcom have ever done. It looks incredible, and for all of its faults, I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I loved what I played. I have to emphasise that I loved it. The only real issue I had was with the dogs, and then it did immediately become clear that it was me, not the game. And yeah, maybe it's a bit too QTE heavy, maybe. But there's even stuff like that. You know, the ones where you spin the stick.
Yeah.
You can spin both sticks and do it twice as fast.
Yeah.
But also,
I like the fact that if you've got to do something, hammer a button or spin the sticks, there's that dial in front of you have to beat. I'm like, that adds a little something to it.
It does.
Yeah,
I dig it. Yeah,
it's good.
Yeah, well, I might come back next week and hate it. Who knows? But I'm definitely excited to go back to it.
Indeed.